You've seen this person at the gym, headphones locked in, hood pulled up, eyes fixed straight ahead, nobody approaches them, and they wouldn't have it any other way. They show up at the exact same time every single day. They follow their program without a single deviation. They don't need anyone cheering them on. They don't want it. Most people assume they're cold, or arrogant, or just antisocial. But that's a lazy conclusion, because what's actually happening here runs far deeper than that. Here's what nobody tells you. People who consistently train alone aren't running away from other people. They're guarding something. To understand what, you have to look further back than the gym. You have to trace it all the way back to how they learned to count on themselves. Research published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that individuals with high autonomy orientation consistently gravitate towards self-directed activities, ones where the outcome depends entirely on their own effort. In plain terms, some people are psychologically built to perform better when no one else is in the equation. The gym just makes that wiring visible. Think about who actually ends up training alone long-term. More often than not, it's someone who learned early that leaning on others carries real risk. Maybe there was a parent who couldn't be counted on. Maybe teammates let them down at the worst possible moments. Maybe they simply realized that the only person who showed up every single time was themselves. That lesson doesn't fade with age. It travels with you into adulthood, and it absolutely travels with you through those gym doors. The training partner who cancels at the last minute isn't just an inconvenience to this person, it's confirmation of something they already suspected. Don't build your consistency around someone else's priorities, because people eventually will always find a reason not to show up. So they remove the variable entirely. No partner, no dependency, no disappointment, just them and the work in front of them. Now here's where it gets interesting. This isn't pessimism. It's a coping strategy that got wired in so early, it started to feel like personality. Psychologists call this a high internal locus of control. The deep conviction that your outcomes are shaped by your own actions, not by luck, not by other people. A 2019 study in Personality and Individual Differences found that people with a high internal locus of control show significantly greater consistency in health behaviors, including exercise. Solo trainers don't just prefer to work out alone. Their consistency literally depends on it. Remove the external variables, and everything gets sharper. But there's another layer here that most people overlook completely. Solo training is also about cognitive control. When you train with someone else, the entire session becomes a negotiation. Their energy affects yours. Their mood shapes yours. Their pace, their choices, their presence, all of it pulls on your focus. For someone who has spent years carefully managing their inner world, that kind of unpredictability isn't just annoying, it's genuinely disruptive. The gym, for a solo trainer, is one of the rare spaces where every single variable is theirs to control. The playlist, the pace, the rest intervals, the mental focus. Take that control away, and you haven't just changed their workout. You've removed the entire psychological function the gym was serving. And that function matters more than most people ever realize. Because for a significant number of solo trainers, this isn't really about aesthetics or hitting a new personal record. It's about regulation, emotional regulation, mental regulation, a daily ritual that quietly holds everything else together. Neuroscience research shows that repetitive, self-paced physical activity activates the brain's default mode network in ways that support introspection and emotional processing. In simple terms, solo training is often how these individuals work through problems, decompress from pressure, and find their way back to themselves. Add a social layer to that, and it stops being therapy. It becomes just exercise. And exercise alone isn't always enough. Now let's talk about something solo trainers rarely say out loud. Some of them aren't just introverted. Some of them are quietly carrying a low-level hypervigilance that makes social performance genuinely exhausting. When you train with someone, you're under observation. Your form is being watched. Your weights are being clocked. Your effort is being measured against another person. For someone who already runs a constant internal audit on themselves, adding an external audience doesn't push them harder, it overwhelms them. Research from the Journal of Sport and Exercise Psychology found that social evaluation during exercise significantly raises cortisol levels in self-conscious individuals. Higher cortisol, more stress, slower recovery, worse performance. The solo trainer figured that out long before they ever saw a study about it. Here's something worth noting about ego. And this part might surprise you. Solo trainers often carry less ego in the gym, not more. Without an audience, there's no performance to put on. Without a partner watching, the weight doesn't lie. They're not lifting to impress anyone. They're not grinding past their limit to look strong in front of a witness. They're training exactly where they are. That kind of raw honesty with yourself requires a psychological maturity that the people labeling them antisocial often haven't developed yet. But here's the paradox. The very strength that makes them exceptional inside those four walls can quietly work against them beyond it. The same self-reliance that builds elite consistency can make it nearly impossible to ask for help when they genuinely need it. The same need for control that sharpens their focus can create friction in relationships where compromise isn't optional. The same preference for solitude that protects their performance can slide under enough pressure into an isolation that nobody around them even picks up on. Because solo trainers are good at functioning. They show up, they perform, they hold things together. The cracks tend to stay invisible until they don't. Clinical psychologist Dr. Sherry Berg Carter notes that chronic self-reliance without any outlet for vulnerability is one of the most underreported risk factors for burnout in high-functioning individuals. The gym carries a lot for these people, but it can't carry everything. And sometimes the lesson they most need is the one they resist the hardest. That letting someone in doesn't mean surrendering control. That depending on another person doesn't automatically end in disappointment. That the strength they built in private might actually grow into something larger if they ever allowed another person to witness it. Most solo trainers know this. Somewhere beneath all the discipline, all the headphones, all the carefully kept routines, they're not broken, they're not cold, they're not arrogant. They're people who learn to protect themselves in the most efficient way available to them. And every single day they walk into that gym alone, they're still doing exactly that. Protecting their peace, protecting their process, protecting the one space that has never once let them down. If this hit home, whether it changed how you see that person across the gym or how you see yourself, subscribe. There's a lot more to explore. The next video is going to go even deeper than this one. Click it, you'll understand why.